Guys, I got curious. I got real curious and I started digging up some numbers. And I think I found some things that are definitely worth looking into as far as understanding what it is that Brashard Smith will mean to the Kansas City Chiefs, possibly as soon as the 2025 season. But in order to highlight that more completely, we have an article today from ESPN. Biggest 2025 NFL offseason, biggest surprise players on each team from ESPN. The Kansas City Chiefs player is Brashard Smith. This is just one paragraph, and then we'll get into the numbers here. But this is exactly why these numbers are important. Judging from how he was utilized in offseason practices, the Chiefs have plans for Smith. A seventh-round draft pick out of SMU, Smith was a wide receiver in college before moving to running back for his final season, and the Chiefs showcased his versatility by getting him the ball out of the backfield from the slot and split out wide. Smith ran a 4.39 40-yard dash at the combine, so he will fit with a group of other fast skill players, including Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and Elijah Mitchell. This comes to us from Adam Teicher, no longer covering the Chiefs, and this was perhaps not his most insightful work, we will say. Just listing fast guys at the end there is a little bit of an out. But here's a question, or I guess here's the situation. 2018, Patrick Mahomes takes the NFL by storm. 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, MVP, all of these accolades just boom, 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 right off the bat. Tyreek Hill decides to be, Tyreek Hill eventually, and all of a sudden, Mahomes' toys are taken away. But they used those assets to build the defense, and then they won 2 consecutive Super Bowls and made it to a third. But somewhere along the way, the offense started to hit the skids. The offense started to sputter. The offense lost its luster. However you want to say it, the offense was kapoop. And there are myriad reasons, right? The offensive line has 2 times been absolutely wrecked. The first time mainly through the interior, but the tackles got injured. The second time, the interior is good, but the tackles are, well, they leave something to be desired. So that could be part of what is derailing the offense. There's the fact that the Chiefs haven't invested as heavily in offense as defense in the draft, and when you're drafting 30th, 31st, 32nd every year, it's hard to invest through the draft anyhow. The Chiefs have the marquee player in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes, and that makes it difficult to spend money too terribly many places, so you can't sign a whole lot of free agents. And then there's the curious case of wide receiver in Kansas City. The Chiefs, by my estimation, have 4, count them, 4 legitimate number 2 wide receivers. They might not have a number 1 wide receiver on the roster, but there are 4 number 2s. Now, that could work. It really could. The Chiefs have obviously done it for a couple seasons with no true number 1 wide receiver. So not having a number 1 wide receiver will not condemn the offense, will not condemn the team. But there's one other position that we don't really think about as often when it comes to the passing game. I pulled up the statistics, the full team statistics from 2018 in order to take a look at what the running backs were doing in the passing game. It's a little bit hard because I did not have the framing through the whatever. So here, this column here is the receptions. So you had Kareem Hunt with 26 receptions, Damian Williams with 23, Spencer Ware with 20. All 3 of those guys had 20 or 20-plus receptions. Kareem Hunt with 378 yards and 7 touchdowns. 378 yards and 7 touchdowns from his number 1 running back that season. And then you had Damian Williams offer another 160 yards. Spencer Ware with 224 yards. You even had Anthony Sausage Sherman with 96 yards on the season, nearly 100 receiving yards on the year. And then all of these running backs, with the exception of Spencer Ware, had a receiving touchdown. Kareem Hunt had 7 receiving touchdowns. Damian Williams had 2 receiving touchdowns. Anthony Sherman, Darrell Williams, DeAnthony Thomas, and Charkandrick West all had receiving touchdowns. So the passing game productivity from the running backs in that 2018 season was as follows: 85 receptions, 951 yards, 11.18 yards per reception average, 13 touchdowns, and 45 first downs. Guys, that's borderline number 1 wide receiver production for your running back group. Now, Patrick Mahomes absolutely went off that season, so a lot of guys were racking up a lot of numbers. But a 1,000-yard receiver in your running back group, as your running back group, perhaps I should say, is pretty big stuff. 85, just listen to those. If the Chiefs last season had a guy with 85 receptions, 951 yards, and 13 touchdowns, nobody would have been talking about how close all of these games were. So let's fast forward, I don't know, say 2023, the season before 2024, obviously. What did the running back productivity look like then? So here is the receptions column. Isaiah Pacheco had 44 receptions. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 17. Jerick McKinnon had 25. And LaMichael Pirine had 3. As far as the yards are concerned, Isaiah Pacheco cashed in 44 receptions for 244 yards. That is a 5.5 yard average. 2 touchdowns and 12 first downs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire cashed in 17 receptions for 188 yards and a single touchdown. Jerick McKinnon, 25 receptions, 192 yards, 4 touchdowns. And LaMichael Pirine, 3 receptions, 33 yards. Giving you a season total from your running back position of 89 receptions. That's even more than in the 2018 season. But instead of 951 yards, the Chiefs fell all the way down to 657 with a 7.38 yard per reception average. Then you have 7 touchdowns, down from 13 in 2018, and another 33% fewer first downs, 30 first downs versus 45 in 2018. Hard to get much worse than that, right? That is pretty much bottom of the barrel for receiving productivity from your running backs, right? 657 yards from the entire group, 30 first downs, not great stuff. Well, it does get worse, and it got worse, meaningfully worse, in 2024. Kareem Hunt with 23 receptions, Samaje Perine with 28 led the running back group, cashing in those 28 receptions for 322 yards and the only touchdown of the group. But Kareem Hunt finished it out with 176 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, again, limited season, but 79 yards, and Carson Steele, 26 yards. Giving the group, the position group, 70 receptions, 603 yards, 8.61 yard average per reception, 1 touchdown, 29 first downs. Meaningfully worse than even the 2023 season for this running back group. But guys, it gets even worse than just the raw numbers. I went a step further and broke these numbers down to per game averages. And 17 games in 2023-2024. Here's what the per game average looks like. The 2018, Chiefs running backs averaged 5.3 receptions per game, 60 yards, and 2.81 first downs. Nearly 3 first downs receiving for the running backs alone in 2018. in 2023, that 5.3 receptions fell, despite the fact that there were more total receptions. The average fell to 5.23 receptions per game. The average receiving yards per game plummeted to 39 yards receiving per game. 1.76 first downs per game, from nearly 3 to almost 2. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 3 is more than 1 per half that you're getting just from your running backs. And in 2024, the Chiefs averaged 4.11 receptions per game, basically 1 reception per quarter. 36 yards per game receiving from the running back core, and 1.7 first downs. These numbers fell precipitously with this current running back room, from 5.3 receptions all the way down to 4.11, from 60 yards all the way down to 36, and from 2.81 first downs per game all the way down to 1.7, first downs per game. Everything fell off the cliff for this group. Enter Brashard Smith. Now, you will note that even though the numbers on the screen do say freshman wide receiver at Miami, sophomore wide receiver at Miami, and junior wide receiver at Miami, he was not particularly impressive as a wide receiver. 222 yards as a freshman, 330 as a sophomore, 395 as a junior. 199 as a freshman, 308 as a sophomore, 263 as a junior. But then he had his best season receiving his senior year, or his redshirt junior, COVID junior, however you want to refer to it, wonky seasons. His best receiving season was his final year at SMU after he transferred and became a running back. Now, he added 1,332 rushing yards to this as well, with a 5.7 yard average per carry, but he had an 8.4 average per reception during that time. Brashard Smith stands to return it. Looking at his game, Jerick McKinnon is a very good comp. Now, Jerick McKinnon was an absolute athletic freak. I defy you to go look at his Wikipedia and look at his bench press, etc. numbers. Absolute monster of an athlete was Jerick McKinnon. Brashard Smith is not that. Brashard Smith is very fast. Brashard Smith has decent numbers elsewhere. But should he bring back the Jerick McKinnon type threat to this offense, the offense gets better overnight. Averaging more than 36 receiving yards per game would be huge for this offense. Averaging more than 1.7 first downs per game would be huge for this offense. And here is where things get perhaps a little bit more interesting. So, dysfunctions on football teams oftentimes compound. Sometimes strengths do too, but when a football team is falling apart, you really see those weaknesses compound. If you have a weak offensive line or weak tackles, it means that the quarterback is going to have to get rid of the ball faster, right? It means that the quarterback is not going to be able to do 7-step drops. He's not going to be able to be back there patting the ball. Whatever it is that you want to say, however it is you want to think about it, the quarterback has to get the ball out of his hands because there's going to be an edge player breathing down his neck sooner than later. Well, what is one of the main ways that you can combat a strong pass rush? Well, with the screen game, for one, and Andy Reid loves the screen game. There's also just having somebody out in the flat that can catch the football and do a little bit of damage with it. The Chiefs did none of that last season, did the least they have done in a very long time, at least from my math and looking things up here, 4.11 receptions per game, 1 reception per quarter on a team with weak tackle play. That is absolute football malpractice. And it seems because the running back group for the Chiefs was not particularly inclined to be wide receivers. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel. So consider hitting the subscribe button, stick around for more, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.